You probably heard the saying, everybody is an artist until rent is due. But I think that's such a cop-out. And I think you know it too. I mean, can you honestly say that you're so worried about money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that you never even have the time, not even 30 minutes or an hour, to work on your art? I don't think so. Instead, when you are not actively thinking and worrying about money, what are you doing with your time? You're not creating. You're distracting. You're watching YouTube. You're finding another reason why now is not the right time. And there's always a reason. So it's not really an issue of actual safety. It's an issue of not feeling safe, not feeling safe enough to create your art. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to stay an artist even when your rent is due and you're freaking out, and how to make your art eventually pay your rent. We treat art like it's a luxury, like something we're only supposed to look at when everything else is perfectly lined up in our lives. Somehow we have convinced ourselves that if we don't have the complete financial freedom, then creativity is not only frivolous, but actually dangerous. And unless we can afford the luxury of being an artist, we should table that to a later date, unless we figure out how to make it make money. See what's going on here? So if you're a creative of any kind, there's a very good chance that you've convinced yourself that you can't express yourself through your work. You can't express your real opinions, your perspectives, your values, what you care about in your work, because it's not what the clients want, it's not what your job wants, it's not what the market wants. And there may be some truth to that. I'm sure you found your lane, you found your way of paying your bills right now. But let me ask you, why aren't you doing that separately for yourself? Like, what's holding you back from carving out time to create your art on your terms the way you want to? Your job, your business, your clients, they're not holding you back from creating your own artistic project. You are. The first layer of the problem is that we collectively don't seem to understand the real value of art in our lives. And I love how Terence McKenna once said that art's task is to save the soul of mankind, and anything less is a dithering while Rome burns. So let's talk about our motivation as human beings. What motivates us to do what we do? There are tons of psychological frameworks out there. Some of them are very well known and classics, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs is not necessarily like the end all be all, the ultimate truth, but it's something that has been hammered in my head quite a bit as a marketer. Most of these frameworks agree that human beings, we seek to fulfill our most basic needs first before getting to the so-called higher needs. So that means we look for safety and security first, like food, water, shelter. And then we want to be part of a society, of a group, of a community. We want to belong, and then we want to feel esteemed. We want to feel like we matter. And somehow, once we get to this, pinnacle utopian place, all of a sudden, we are so fulfilled and actualized, and eventually we get our heads out of our butts and we transcend ourselves and we become gods or whatever, who knows? Or maybe we are and we just don't realize it. The shit is put on a pedestal like it's crazy, but actually, self-actualization is in everything that we do, at every layer. And in fact, it's even more important in the so-called lower needs. If you are somebody who is in a survival need, this is why it boggles my mind when people say things like, check your privilege. What are you talking about? Read the book Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. He talked about how people who were in these extreme survival conditions in a Nazi camp, those who had meaning and purpose and were working towards actualizing themselves and actually contributing truly, not just trying to feel esteemed in their community, but actually contributing beyond themselves and fulfilling their potential as human beings, while literally trying to survive, those people were much more likely to actually survive. He developed an entire school of psychology, logotherapy, from observing this meaning-making function in human beings and its importance in extreme survival conditions. So art and creative expression and self-expression is not sitting in a basket somewhere up top on the top of the hierarchy of needs, not something that you're supposed to work your way up to. Like, it is supposed to be there from the beginning. It is the whole purpose of being alive, is to actualize yourself. The whole purpose of being here is to go through the experience of living and to discover who you are and hopefully refine it. Either refine it by your own will, I hope, and if not, life will smack you and you will be refined whether you like it or not. That is the whole point. The whole point is self-actualization and ultimately self-transcendence. So I'm not saying that these hierarchies of needs are, or these models are not correct. I'm saying that they're not rigid. They're not linear. And these needs are not mutually exclusive, by the way. I mean, think of it this way. Like if you lose your job or your business takes a hit, you don't stop brushing your teeth. You don't go, oh, okay, time to get serious now. I can't take a shower anymore. I gotta focus on making money. No, you understand this is separate. This has nothing to do with that. This is something I gotta keep doing for a different reason. And it's not stopping me from doing the thing to replace my income or improve it or grow my business or whatever. They're two separate things. You do it, you brush your teeth or you take a shower, hopefully, because you understand the value of those things in your life, their importance to your body, to your well-being, and to your self-image as a not pig. You know that if you stop brushing your teeth for a week, you start to feel not so great about yourself, and that compounds into other areas of your life as well. And the same goes for your creative expression, by the way. If you just spend a month without creating, you'll notice that you're drifting day to day. Like you'll get out of bed, you're shuffling your feet, you're kind of aimless, your life feels like it's a long list of tasks with no purpose, and you're just trying to get through the day. But when you compound that a year in, 2 years, 3 years, and you've accepted a smaller life, this is the proverbial dithering while Rome burns that Terence McKenna was talking about. This is not about your creative output. Not yet. It's not about what you end up creating. It's about staying connected to yourself as a practice, because practicing your art organizes your consciousness. It refines your spirit. It keeps you from rotting and decaying. Money, money, money. Okay, on making money with our art, with our creative expression. We want our art to make money, but we treat it unlike any career or business. You know, we think it has to make money from day one, but we won't apply the same logic to anything else. I mean, we will study for decades for careers we're not even interested in. We will do unpaid internships. We will grind at jobs we hate, all in the hope that someday it's going to pay off. But we won't extend a fraction of the same commitment or patience to the thing that we actually love. We also understand that we need to be financially supported no matter what we're building. I mean, even if you think about your very first job, your parents supported you or something before you got your very first job. Then you got your very first job to support you while you got your first career job. Then you got your first career job in order to get your better job. Or or you did that for business or whatever. But the point is, you're supposed to be supported financially while you build the thing. It doesn't mean that the thing is not working. It's just part of the game. For some time, you're going to have to show up. It's unpaid. Nobody's going to care. But you're supposed to master it, get really good at it, and then fulfill some kind of need or desire, create some sort of value in the market to make money off of it. The attitude we show with art, if we were to apply it to anything else, it would sound something like this. I will not study to become a doctor until I'm paid to perform surgeries. Let me see if people care. Let me see if anybody pays. And if not, then, it's not worth it. Some of you might be listening to this and going, well, Aliana, I am actually really good at what I do. I've already mastered it. Why am I not getting paid for it? I've been a marketer for 18 years and I've been running my own business for more than 10 years. And I'll tell you this much. People pay for a perception of value, but people continue to pay for actual value, and you need both. By default, when you master your art, when you master any skill, any craft, and you use it to serve a higher purpose, that is an act of creating actual value in the marketplace. Now, whether there is perceived value or not, that's different, but you are creating actual value. So if you're really, really good at it, like as good as you think you are, and you're using it to serve a higher purpose, and you're opening doors for the universe to pay you, you're letting people know how to pay you, there should be no reason why you're not getting paid, at least why you're not starting to make some money off of it. A perfect example of this is when you pass by a musician, you feel compelled to put $1 in their hat. The reason why you tip them is because you recognize that this person has put a lot of effort into that skill and that they're sharing it to uplift other people It's a gift, so you feel compelled to reciprocate. This isn't just about art in the traditional sense of the word, by the way. I mean, think of the Patreon model here on YouTube. A lot of creators here on YouTube get supported by their audiences just as a way to say thank you. You know, it's a way for them to reciprocate the presence and their work without really owning any of it. I know you might be thinking, I can't make my revenue goals or my business goals from tips, at the subway or from Patreon right now. A couple things. First of all, this is where vision comes in. I mean, $1 million is made of $1 million $1 bills. So before you can make $1 million, you gotta make $1. You have a miracle in your hands right now. Your phone, your laptop, whatever it is that you're watching me on, and your internet. If this stuff had existed just 100 years ago, it would have been considered a freaking miracle. It is insane how we can connect to our people. Now, you can connect to anybody in the world. You can find your people from wherever you are in the world. So no matter how niche or how unique your thing is, or no matter how difficult you think it is for you to find people who resonate, you don't have to even move anywhere. From wherever you are, you can find all those people and connect to them. You don't have to take your stuff and go to some market in some village. You don't have to get on a freaking boat and cross the ocean from the comfort of wherever from your bathroom, from your toilet. You could be making money. It's insane. And look, it doesn't have, I'm not talking about Patreon or business models here. This is not the purpose of this video. There are endless business models. You don't have to do it this way. Like in my business, I do high ticket. But that's what works for me. What works for me right now with where I am, with my energy and the smaller audience, is high ticket. This is where AI can be helpful for research. I think it can spit out so much information at you. Just ask it, what are all the different kinds of business models out there? Or just Google it and you'll find tons. Products, services, digital products, physical products. You can sell a subscription to something. You can do high ticket, one-on-one. You can do group. There are so many ways to package your gift, to package your skill, to package the thing that you want to sell. Endless business models, but none of them work if you don't show up. This patience, this devotion and willingness to show up and do your best before you have any evidence that it will ever work, or before you have any evidence that anybody will care, in the creator economy in today's day and age, is the equivalent of decades of school and years of unpaid internships. This is how you do it now. I heard somebody call it an audition before the universe, and I love it. Because that's what it is. It's an audition before the universe. And you can half-ass it. You can half-ass the audition and do it just to say you did it. Look, I auditioned, but you're not impressing anyone. You really have to show up for it like you fully believe in this thing. That's the same mindset that makes you go to school and do your best. Like, the only reason why you put yourself through decades of studying and you did all your internships and jobs and everything is because somebody told you that this will pay off someday. So when are you going to trust your own guidance? To create the value, you have to first see the innate value in the thing. The artist has to see the potential for a statue in a stone before others do. And your willingness as an artist to bet on your vision, on the innate value of the thing, is the reason why you will get paid. Your willingness to take the risk and to invest your energy without a guarantee, really to alchemize this innate potential, to turn it into a tangible value for other people, to package it in such a way that others will want to pay for it, is the reason why they'll pay for it. And that's the entrepreneurial part. And it is not at odds with your inner artist. It doesn't make you less authentic. Not if you start from authentic creative expression and genuine devotion to your craft that's detached from making money. You are not a better artist if you struggle. There is no fight between the business side of you, the side of you that makes money, the entrepreneurial side of you that wants your art to succeed and to make money, and your actual artistic, authentic, free, genuine creative expression. There is no fight except in your own mind. Like, I used to think that these two parts were at odds. I used to think that this was a constant struggle to balance these two. Therefore, there's this ongoing fight that can never be reconciled, until I realized they're both part of the same person, The more that you invest time into becoming a better artist, into working on your craft, and simultaneously you invest time into becoming a better entrepreneur, a better business person. You do those two things together, they're going to marinate. They're going to integrate with each other. you got to trust it, you know? Not trusting it is kind of like saying, I can't simultaneously learn to walk and chew gum because I can't see a reality where I can both simultaneously walk and chew gum at the same time. You know? Yes, you can, Stephanie. Yes, you can. Okay, let's recap before I get to the meat of this video. Practicing your art is not at odds with making money. I mean, you keep brushing your teeth, hopefully, no matter what's going on with your bank account. And art is not a luxury. Your creative expression is incredibly important for your psychological well-being. And if you want your art to pay your rent consistently and pay your bills and sponsor your amazing, incredible life and all your travels and whatnot, you have to treat it like any other career or business. You have to show up for it consistently, unpaid, master it, and then use that skill to serve a higher purpose. Okay? Are we in agreement? I hope we are. Which brings us to the most uncomfortable question of all. If all of that is true, if money is not actually the obstacle, then why are you not creating? Let me tell you a quick story. When I was a kid, I loved to paint. I loved to draw. I saw myself as an artist. That was my thing. I was convinced when I grew up I was going to be an artist in some form of artistry. I'll spare you the details, but as a teenager, poop hit the fan. Life became all about survival, and I put my artistry on a shelf, and I told myself that someday, once I made it, once I became really successful, I would get back to art. And about a decade and a half later, I woke up in my dream business. I mean, I had my highest revenue month ever. I remember walking into a store. I wanted to buy myself a gift. And I remember realizing that I could actually afford to buy myself anything I wanted. All of it. All of the things that I wanted. I didn't have to choose. I didn't buy anything because I was overwhelmed, but I was very proud of myself and just overwhelmed with joy and pride and all of those amazing feelings. And simultaneously, it was rock bottom because I was so creatively stifled. I wanted to write and I couldn't write a single paragraph because I didn't know what my voice was. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I didn't know what was true for me, only what other people expected me to say. I didn't trust myself with a paintbrush because I hadn't touched one in so long. And when I did, I just, I felt like I had to create something perfect. I didn't have any sense of meaning or purpose in my life. I didn't know what to do with myself. Honestly, it was a dark time, and I felt like I couldn't even let myself feel bad because it's like, well, shut the fuck up. Like, what's your problem, right? I always thought that once I reached a certain number, that number would give me a feeling of safety, and that safety would finally allow me to be free in my creativity. And it was an interesting feeling to get to that number and realize that nothing had changed. Actually, I was even more trapped. But I consider that to be a blessing because I realized at that point that if that number didn't give me the feeling, then an even bigger number wasn't going to do it, and something had to change. And this was the time when the Hindu goddess Kali became an important symbol in my life. Now, I don't worship Kali. I don't believe that Kali is a literal being or anything. Like, I perceive religious and mythological symbols as a guidance to help me understand my own subconscious mind. To me, Kali represents this existential freedom that comes from understanding that destruction is a prerequisite for creation, that the self you are protecting is also the cage that you are trapped in. One of the reasons why I love her so much is because she's not pretty. She's beautiful, but she's not pretty. To me, she represents facing fear without looking away, life in its ugliness, and to see the beauty in that ugliness, to see the beauty in the destruction and the pain that comes from that, but also the freedom from fearing fear, which to me represents true liberation. Because when you are free from fearing fear itself, you are free to choose love. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think it does. I trust you guys are smart. You wouldn't... Come on. I mean, I post quotes in my videos, of course. How else will you know that I'm smart? And if you're watching me, then you're smart too. Okay, let's just move on. So I had to let myself, truly, jokes aside, I had to really let myself feel like I died so many times to get here. And I know that that's not like real death, right? And not ego death. Kind of. It's kind of like a layer of my ego dying. But I had to let myself really not just get out of comfort zones, but really let go of titles, income brackets, oh gosh, and just not just the life, like I was gonna say lifestyle, but like the biggest thing, that actually the hardest thing, was just facing my own darkness, my flaws, my shadows, my humanity. I make myself sound like the devil. But to see those things and to like, oh God, it's like feels like a purge. I purged myself. I had to let go of so many of my masks and the things that were protecting me and making me feel, you know, I had to let them go. I had to let go of a lot of things to get here. But none of it was real. All of it was who I thought I was or what I thought made me me. But I had to let it go in exchange for this freedom. And so years later, I am feeling the feeling that I was hoping to feel back then. I am feeling that freedom to create what I want to create. I'm doing my life's work. I have clients that I love. I feel creatively expressed. I feel happier with a lot less. I'm getting paid to do what I love. So life's perfect, right? It's happily ever after, right? Well, not quite. So recently in my business, I lost a stream of income worth $102,960. I am not a zillionaire. I felt that very deeply in my bones. The crazy thing is, and maybe because I've been in business long enough to know that I'll be okay and everything will be okay and I'll be able to replace it. Despite the pressure, I didn't feel unsafe. Years ago, this would have sent me, I don't know, it would have sent me somewhere. I felt pressure and I was like, oh, but I'll be fine. I'll be able to replace it. I feel confident in my ability to figure out how to replace that. And simultaneously during that time, as I was working on replacing it, tapping into my network and doing a whole bunch of things to get new opportunities, I was also working on a video called The Art of Creating Yourself. And you can watch it. I'll put it somewhere or maybe in the description. You really should watch it. It's a great video. Of course, I made it. Of course, I would say that. But it's about the creative act, the philosophical act of creating yourself. It's not a business video. By, any reasonable business person would have looked at me like I was out of my mind. I was spending hours on this thing almost every day. It was not a logical business decision, let's just say. But I did it. I did it with no attachment. Why am I grabbing my hair? I did it with no care as to how it's going to relate to making money. And at the same time, with a sense of knowing that it is very much related to making money. I brushed my teeth and simultaneously I worked on recovering some of that revenue that was lost. And at the time that I'm making this video, I've recovered already about 62,000 worth of business. All good. Only 39K to go. Anyway, the money pressure started to ease up, right? And I published that video and I was happy with it. I felt good. The response was great. I had a blast. I loved it. Everything is great. Okay, published it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a week off. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna rest. I'm gonna go sit in nature, do my thing, and then resume working on my next video, which is this one. 1 week turned into 2 weeks, and 2 weeks turned into 3 weeks, and 3 weeks turned into 4 weeks. And then at some point I was like, what is going on? As I am procrastinating, I'm very well aware that I'm procrastinating. Like, when you have that observer part of you that's like looking at you and going, what the fuck are you doing? But you can't, you don't want to. Like, what you're doing is wrong, but you're just doing it anyway. I was in that space. It's called like self-discipline, Aliana. That's what it's called. Anyway, I was fully aware that I was procrastinating. Netflix, YouTube shorts, overeating, poor sleep, smoking, like all the things I'm not supposed to do. Old mental loops. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I was doing, but I had like a binge of badness. I let myself rot completely. For whatever reason, decided if I'm gonna go bad, I'm gonna go bad. So clearly the obstacle was not money pressure. It was not, I have to pay my rent right now. It was none of that. One day I was in my kitchen making coffee and I asked myself non-judgmentally, okay, Aliana, why have you been avoiding this? What's going on? You loved making the last video. It makes sense that you would love and be excited about making the next video. It was very clear. I was just afraid. I was like, what if I sit down and I have nothing to say? What if I sit down and what I say doesn't matter or it's not good enough or You know, that's it. That was really it. So listen, if fear cannot use money, it will use something else. And this is where I knew I had to call on Kali again. Kali is a manifestation of Shakti. She is creative energy. She is destructive, chaotic, untamed, untamable. And she is often depicted as standing on top of Shiva. Shiva being consciousness, pure witnessing awareness. She stands on Shiva because creative energy needs consciousness to ground it. Without mindfulness, creative energy becomes destructive. It consumes and creates without purpose. But also, consciousness without creativity, without this energy, is lifeless. Neither one can or should exist without the other because they are actually one and the same. They're the same reality expressing itself in different ways, as stillness and movement, or being and becoming. So I knew I had to simply break the cycle. Listen, you'll end up here so many times in your career. Every time you push a creative limit and you let yourself be more vulnerable or more creatively expressed, you will hit what Gay Hendricks calls an upper limit problem, a wall or barrier of fear of some sort. So what do? I'm going to share with you 5 things that you can do starting right now. The first thing is to admit you are afraid. Admit that all of the reasons why you're not creating are real. But even though they are real, they're not the real reason you're not creating. Fear is. And that's okay. Second thing you want to do is you want to make an appointment with yourself. Go ahead and actually create an appointment with yourself on your calendar and take it as seriously as you would take an appointment with somebody else. We make appointments with other people, we take them so seriously. We would never dream of missing an appointment with somebody else without at least giving them a reason, apologizing, rescheduling. But we can make an appointment with ourselves at 9 o'clock and it's 9:30 or 10 and we're still scrolling YouTube. And then we wonder why we don't trust ourselves. If you don't keep your promises to yourself, you won't trust yourself. And you won't trust your intuition, by the way, because to trust your intuition, you have to trust yourself, and to trust yourself, you have to keep your promise to yourself. So keep your promises to yourself. The third thing is to understand that it's your job to show up, and it's none of your business what the outcome is. Here, I'm going to share with you a trick that I used a couple times. I don't know where I picked this up. I don't do it a lot, but when I'm really, really stuck, this is what I do. I pretend that I have a muse. He's a man for some reason. My muse is a guy. I don't know. I gave him a name once and I forgot what his name was. No wonder he hates me. But I imagine him sitting in the corner, right? And his job is to bring the inspiration. My job is to show up. So I show up, I work on my thing, and then I just leave the ball in his court. It's like, I'm going to do my part, but if there's no inspiration, it's on you. Yay for not taking responsibility. But the muse tends to show up after you do, not before. So you got to show up. That is a hill I will die on. Sort out your life. All right, this one is big, and you're not going to do it in an afternoon. But listen, your ability to create really depends on how you feel in your body, your mind, your environment, all of those things. I have this fantasy that is like the 1930s, and I'm sitting there in Paris smoking a cigarette and drinking wine with Jean-Paul Sartre, and probably not understanding half of what he's saying. I'm not even trying to be humble. I genuinely don't think I would understand half of what he's saying. That is a fantasy. The truth is, I do my best work when I'm not drinking, not smoking, and I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock like a good girl. That's the truth. The truth is the boring stuff, the going to the gym, the eating well, taking care of my body and taking care of myself is when I do my best creation, my best work. Every once in a while, I allow myself a day or 2 or 3 of binging on being bad. This time it was a couple of weeks, but you get the idea. That is important. Take care of your body, take care of your mind, take care of your environment, and also take care of your life, like the things that scare you. You gotta deal with your debts and your problems and your issues and your relationship challenges, and ask for forgiveness or forgive people. All of these things add up. If you don't take care of those things, they will take space. They will clog up your creative channels. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Yeah, and a big part of that is, by the way, limiting brain rot. I forgot to mention this, but I think it goes hand in hand, because when you have a creative endeavor, you have something, you have a purpose, you have a mission, you have something you're working towards. I don't know, I make it sound so big when I say purpose and mission. Like, you have something you care about, you're contributing, you get out of bed every morning and you're working towards that. You are less likely to scroll stupid videos. You don't have to get there completely. Like, you don't have to have your entire life sorted out. This part, like I said, you're not going to do it in an afternoon, but just making a list of all the things in your life that you want to take care of and taking one step to move in that direction will already free up so much of your creativity and so much of your, yeah, so much of, you get the idea. Okay, number 5, pro tip. This will really help you not feel resentment and stop resisting what is. Think of your job or your business or however you earn your money right now as your patron. Historically, artists needed patrons to support their creative lives. It's still true today, it just looks a little different. So your job, your business, your other sources of income, even if they are not the main thing you want to do, even if they're not your creative path, they are your patrons. They are sponsoring your creative life, even though they probably don't care about your art. That's okay. So the way I think of it is, if a patron, in this case, if a patron relationship is not working, you just got to replace it with a better patron. Meaning, if they start to cross your limits or mess with your creativity or take too much energy, if they start affecting your creative life in some way, you got to replace them. And I know this is easier said than done, but it's worth it. And it's important that you develop the courage to believe there is better for you, because that courage is crucial for you as an artist anyway. Also, I would say reduce this power asymmetry. You don't want to just rely on one source of income. So try to diversify your income. Maybe have a couple of part-time jobs, or a job and a business, or a business with multiple sources of income, which is even better, and savings and investments if you're capable of doing that. Like, just more ways for you to earn, that if one of those becomes out of balance, you don't feel like it has all the power over your life. Also, learn to live with less. Thinner golden shackles. So important. So important. It creates so much breathing room. I don't know about you, but I think money looks a lot better in my bank account than it does in my closet. That is a lesson I've learned. I would be lying to you if I said that I could feel this way and create this way years ago. First of all, I didn't have the skill, I didn't have the courage, and my life didn't support it, but I still showed up. Today, I am grateful to have the clients that I have and the business that I have, and that they support my creative work. But it wasn't always the case. Like, I had to create a business, and then I figured that it wasn't the right business, then I had to rebuild a new business. But I had to do that while having jobs that I hated, while having toxic bosses, while having horrible work environments, while having clients that I didn't really feel in alignment with, while I didn't get paid enough. But I had to show up despite those conditions. I didn't wait to have the perfect business and a perfect life in order for my great clients to show up. The great clients came along because I was already showing up, because I was already doing what I loved. The more I did what I loved, the more aligned clients I attracted. So the shift was this: I stopped feeling trapped and resentful, and I started to feel grateful for what I had. I saw every job and every business as an opportunity to fund my creative freedom, and I showed up fully instead of resenting it for not being exactly what I wanted it to be. And when I stopped this resistance, when I stopped being resentful that I was whatever I was, and instead I became open to the lessons that life was offering me, I naturally outgrew those places. I had more aligned opportunities come to me more easily. And because I learned to also be okay with less, the pressure went down significantly. I mean, I found a much sweeter spot for me to work fewer hours and still have my version of comfort. I remember a time when I was in my early 20s when my definition of success in business was to have a unicorn kind of business. And it wasn't even what I wanted, it's just what I felt I should want in order to feel good enough. But I had to be honest with myself. Am I willing to do what it takes to build that kind of business? No, because building a lifestyle business is a very different endeavor from building that kind of business. And what I always wanted all along, if I put my ego aside and if I put my wobbly self-worth at the time and all of that aside, what I really wanted is just the freedom to do whatever the heck I wanted, whenever I wanted, and especially to not have to do the things that I didn't want to do. That's what I wanted. I just wanted to be free to create. I wanted to be free to express myself, and I wanted to feel comfortable. I wanted to be able to travel, to not be tied to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Doesn't mean I don't have a schedule in my business. I do. I practice discipline in my own business. It's not like I don't care and just things happen. Of course, I still have responsibilities, but I was able to have that freedom to spend years traveling and living life the way I wanted to live and really having all these beautiful memories. And I could double, triple, quadruple my business revenues by spending more time and energy in my business and hustling and all of that. But I don't want to, because I know what makes me happy. And I think for us creatives, we really need that spaciousness. We need our creative output is not linear. It's not a one-to-one. So we need rest, we need inspiration, and that spaciousness is where our best work comes from. There's something else I want to tell you that is very important. This is not just about paying your rent. It's not just about fulfilling your creative potential, so to speak. It's always been so much bigger than that. It may feel like your Rome is burning today, and because your Rome is burning, you go silent because you feel like you have nothing to offer. But when you do that, there's one less voice articulating a vision, and our collective Rome burns a little more. I'm not trying to guilt trip you, and you're not obligated to do anything for anyone. I'm just someone who knows what it's like to create under extreme survival pressure and extreme financial comfort. And I'm here to tell you that the difference is actually a lot smaller than you think. I'm not saying that circumstances don't matter. I'm saying they matter a lot less than your courage does. And I'm not afraid of saying this to you directly, even if you might think that I don't understand what it's like to be in your shoes right now. And maybe that's true, but I also know you're powerful, and I'm here to remind you of that. So I'm going to leave you with two questions. If you were guaranteed to fail and to never make any money from it, what would still be worth creating? And if it were inevitable that it will all work out, what would you commit to today?
And the failure of moral courage is perhaps most evident in our own community, the community of the artists. In a way, it's the poets that have failed us because they have not provided a song or sung a vision that we could all move in concert to. So now we are in the absurd position of being able to do anything, and what we are doing is fouling our own nest and pushing ourselves toward planetary toxification and extinction. This is because the poets, the artists, have not articulated a moral vision. The moral vision must come from the unconscious. I mean, I'm basically putting out a very conservative, but I think exciting program for art. That art's task is to save the soul of mankind, and that anything less is a dithering while Rome burns. Because if the artists who are self-selected for being able to journey into the other, if the artist cannot find the way, then the way cannot be found.